Hello, I'm Ernest David Associate III with James and Ernie Comedy.
And I am James Junes with the comedy duo. We are here on the campus of the University of Arizona, Tucson.
So what brings you here today?
What brings us here is laughter, and we're here to educate and motivate the youth, the college students. And this morning we talked to some high school kids, about the importance of education and just having a good life, living a good life. And so our main job as performers, as motivational speakers, is to uplift and to encourage our native people.
Yeah, because these students, they need some sort of direction, and as native people, it is our responsibility once we get older to pass on some of the wisdom that we've been passed on to us.
Are you saying we are older?
We are older now.
Oh man, we are elders.
We are elders. We are elders of our generation.
That's right.
And wiser too?
And I don't know about wiser.
Yeah. We'd like to think we're wiser, but my smartphone is smarter than I am, so I don't know.
So you said now that you're motivational speaker. So what were you before that?
We were just speakers.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, we've always been on the motivational side when it comes to performing or presenting, but it comes in the form of comedy, stand-up comedy,
Yep.
which we find out is an excellent tool to, get the trust of our audience, whether they're youth, kids, high school kids, and it relaxes them, laughter, and it brings down their defenses. Because I know when I was young, man, any adult want to talk to me, my defenses, my wall went up,
real fast.
So comedy is an excellent tool to bring that back down, with the youth. Then we get in there and talk some serious stuff to them,
Yeah, we talk about, our struggles with alcohol and drugs, and it's not only that, but we relate it to addiction. We all face some sort of type of addiction, whether it be, even just like Facebook or Twitter. Those things can be addiction to trying to satisfy somebody.
Currently gaming and stuff,
gaming. So it's all
Video games,
related in one way, shape, or form.
This kind of gaming too.
Yeah, this kind of
Yeah.
First was this kind of gaming, now it's this kind of gaming. But we try to use our own experiences to motivate, to educate, to say that the power of your mind is greater than what your situation may be, only if you choose to do that. So we have become the motivational speakers based on our own experiences in life. We've both been through domestic violence with our fathers, so we use that. We both were drug addicts. We're both alcoholics at one point in your life. You can turn your life around. It's the comedy is just, yes, it's an art form. You see it on TV. It's funny. We have a fan base, but what did it take to get to that artistic talent? Nobody will ever know that. How much we laughed, how much we cried, how much we crawled to get to the point that we're at today. 14 years doing it as a full-time job.
Yeah.
Who would have ever thought it? Natives don't think that way. We have to think outside of the box. We can't say because we live on a reservation, this is our home. The whole homeland, the whole United States is our home.
Yeah, and we just didn't want to be like entertainers. We wanted to have a positive message along with our comedy. So from day one, we wanted to do comedy with a message.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, it was being drug and alcohol free. That has turned into being suicide free, bully free, depression free. Just kind of all around wellness. In 14 years, we've been to a lot of different events, from AIDS Awareness Day to suicide prevention,
women's conference,
Yeah.
men's conference, alcohol,
Law enforcement,
law enforcement. There's
Yeah.
so many directions that this comedy has taken us. It's got us doing movies, commercials, endorsing people who are athletes. Taking mission trips to Africa,
and even like being on this prestigious campus like U of A or Brown University, where there's people from Harvard, from Yale, coming to see what we got to say. So and we're just two res dudes, from the Navajo Nation.
Yeah.
But we represent Native America.
So how did you both get started? I mean, and when did you decide that this was going to be your career?
Well, for me, I've always wanted to, not always, but I actually got my training as an actor here in Tucson. I studied at Pima College, a theater and drama program. So I was going into acting, and somewhere along the way, I got the chance to do comedy, and that's where I met James. We signed up for a comedy competition back on the Navajo Nation, and it was for Native comics. I felt comfortable doing that, So we signed up, and we met that night at this competition, and that's how we started. And then 14 years later, we're still doing it.
Yeah, and people think that we're related.
Yeah.
We're cousins, we're brothers,
Yeah.
we're not like that. We competed against each other at one time in 2001. So people that come into your life, they might be your best friend one day. I always say that I didn't choose comedy. It was not on my 10,000 things to do after high school. It chose me.
Same here.
Creator had put this thing in front of you, and that's the thing about our motivational speaking is your life is already planned out for the good. Key word, the good. But sometimes we choose a different path. We choose alcoholism, we choose drug addiction, we choose to drag around the past when we should let it go, because there's not one thing you can do about it to change the past, but you can change the future with the power of your mind.
So before you both decided to join together, what was your paths? I mean, you were going to college.
Yeah.
For what?
I was before I was a comedian or performer. I was an archaeologist. I studied anthropology, again here in Pima College, and I did professional archaeology for about 12 years before I did comedy and acting. You know, so I actually worked in this area in some of these archaeological projects that were going down back in the 90s, and What were you?
And I used to work for the town of Gilbert. I lived in Phoenix for 7 years, and I worked for the town for 4 years. So I'm from this area. My great grandmother and my great grandfather met at Phoenix Indian School back in the day. So this is like home.
So you're a product of boarding school.
I am a product of boarding school.
A byproduct.
But you know, and this always feels like home. Every time I come down to this area, this feels like home.
Yeah.
So it's great, you know, that we have these roots, strong roots. I have my Hopi side and my Navajo side.
And yeah, so it's
the issues that you cover in your show, are they different from what you covered? I mean, you addressed back when you started.
Some of it's the same, but with comedy, you're always as times change, you know, like when we started, there was really the technology wasn't there, you know, all the awesome technology we have today that these kids are into, that wasn't around. So yeah, we got to kind of go with the times, you know what I mean? And so we'll talk about texting or computers, you know, high definition TVs, whatever is current. We as a community kind of got to keep up with that, but also keep your core material that people know you for, you know. But there's stuff that we don't do anymore that people expect to see because they watch our DVD, but it's been like 10 years ago when we've made new material. So we're always changing, but at the same time kind of just keeping an eye on what's going on in the world around us. Yeah.
So when did you know that you were a hit, or what made you realize that?
We're a hit?
We're a hit. we're a hit. Yeah, we're a hit. Man, for us, it took us about maybe in the first two to 3 years, we kind of, when we first got on stage as a duo, we knew we had something going just from our audience. That one day in Tuba City, Arizona, we just went on impromptu at the same time, two separate comedians going on together, and we didn't know how it was going to work, but they were behind on Indian time is what started. James and Ernie, the event that we're at, they were late, running behind schedule. They said, can you guys go on at the same time together?
Well, can you give us a sample of what that was?
Well,
I don't know. I can't remember that far now.
Well, I'll tell you what we real quick, we got together and kind of a little huddle, and we said, hey, he used to do a bit with a wig, had one wig, and I said, I'll wear your wig and I'll put a blanket on. I'll act like I'm a lady, you know, at the bar. I'm sitting on a stool across the stage, and he comes in dancing, just funky music, you know. I think they're playing Prince or something. He got all the way across the stage, just all these moves, crawling on the floor, you know, heading toward me. All he sees is my long hair, and I'm moving too, you know. He sees behind me. He gets up to me. Finally, took about 5 minutes to get across stage, you know. People are just laughing, man. They're rolling. I'm trying to figure out what is he doing. I wanted to turn around and look, but I didn't want to give it away too, you know. And he finally gets up to me, taps me on the shoulder. I turn around, and I'm a dude. You know, I'm like, hey, what's up, bro? You know, and he freaks out, you know. And that's how we started. That was our first bit. And then we just went into our comedy back and forth for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And when we were done, man, ovation, crowd just was going crazy. And we got off. We're like, wow, what just happened? You know, we knew we had chemistry. That first moment that we got on stage together. And that night we were up to like 2 a.m. talking about it. And we said, let's become a duo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that bit evolved into what you see in the DVD.
Yeah, all those props.
So
and stuff.
it evolved from that one little bit.
Character comedy.
And it turned into Guns N' Roses. It
Yeah.
turned into, and we didn't mean to pick Guns N' Roses. We weren't fans of it. It was just something that we heard, and let's try it.
Or, catchy tunes,
Mm-hmm.
Sweet Child of Mine was pretty big at the time. And so, whatever we like to hear ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
or we're kind of like the, whatever's going on in our community, council, tribal members, the officials, how they bicker and stuff. And that's kind of what we see in our own reservation. And we found out it's kind of the same across the board. You go to a different Native community,
Mm-hmm.
everyone's got family, they got kids, they got drunk uncles, aunties, res dogs,
Res cars,
so
res houses.
yeah, and we just
it's all the same from Canada.
It was,
to Mexico, from California to Seminole
Yeah.
country. It's all the same, and this is the best way to describe it. Is we use the same base material, but we use their crayons to paint the same picture.
yeah.
How about your exception, or have you played to non-native audience?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You change your material anyway. How do you?
It goes into a generalization, so the talent really kind of guides you. Ernie is really good at the mainstream stuff. He's really good at the analytical part of it, about the Indians with the feathers and the loincloth.
Stereotypes.
Yeah. And then I just follow along with it. So you have these two that weave this tapestry of comedy that creates a stir in people, a laughter. It has no borders. It has no race, creed, or religion. It grabs your heart, and it beds inside of you with laughter, and it heals you, whatever the pains may be that are inside of you. And so Creator has done this amazing thing with us, with the talent that He's given to us.
I think the voices are back.
The voices are back. I think He's telling us.